You've worked for decades to save $700,000. It's a huge accomplishment, a number that probably felt impossibly far away when you first started. But now that it's real, sitting there in your account, you're left with one question that keeps you up at night. Is it actually enough to retire? The internet gives you a dozen different answers, right? One calculator says you're set for life. Another says you'll be broke in 10 years. The 4% rule is dead, or it's alive, or maybe it was never a rule at all. It's a mess of conflicting advice right when you need clarity the most. So today, we're going to ignore the noise and crunch the real numbers. I'm going to break down what a real-world budget looks like for both a single person and a couple in their early 60s to show you what $700,000 can really support. And stick around, because I'll also reveal the 3 critical levers that determine whether that nest egg is a golden ticket or a ticking time bomb. Section 1. The case study setup. To get a real answer, we need a real-life scenario. So let's meet the folks we're talking about today. First, we have David. He's 62 years old, single, and has $700,000 saved for retirement. Second, we have Mark and Susan, also both 62. They're a team, and together they've also saved that same $700,000. Both David and the couple want to stop working now. They're tired of the grind and ready to start their next chapter. But can they? Well, the answer isn't a simple yes or no. It all comes down to one thing: their spending. So let's build a budget. We're not going to use abstract percentages. We're going to use real, hard numbers based on national averages and what we see every day with our clients. Section 2. Crunching the numbers, the couple. Let's start with Mark and Susan. As a couple, they benefit from economies of scale. One house, one set of property taxes, and shared utility bills. Here's a look at a modest but comfortable retirement budget for 2 people in many parts of the country. Their house is paid off, a major milestone, but they still have property taxes, let's say $400 a month. Home insurance is another $150. Utilities, electric, water, gas, internet, run about $400. Groceries for 2, assuming they eat at home most of the time, are around $800 a month. They have 2 cars that are paid off, but gas, insurance, and maintenance still cost about $500 monthly. Now for the big one, healthcare. At 62, they aren't on Medicare yet. An unsubsidized ACA plan can be expensive, so let's assume they find a decent one for around $1,200 a month for both of them. Once they hit 65, this will change. The standard Medicare Part B premium for 2026 is $203.20 per person, so their costs will drop significantly, but for now, it's a major expense. Finally, let's add in some fun money, a little for travel, hobbies, and dining out. A modest budget of $800 a month. Add it all up, and Mark and Susan's annual spending comes to $52,200. Let's just call it $52,000 a year, or $4,350 per month. So where does the income come from? They both decide to take Social Security at 62. This is the earliest they can, and it comes with a penalty. For someone whose full retirement age is 67, claiming at 62 results in a permanent 30% reduction in benefits. In 2026, the average Social Security retirement benefit is about $2,075 per month. A 30% reduction would drop that to around $1,453 each. Together, they'll get about $2,906 a month, or $34,872 a year. Their spending is $52,000. Their Social Security is $34,872. That leaves an income gap of $17,128 per year. This is the amount their $700,000 nest egg needs to cover. Using the long-debated 4% rule as a starting point, they could pull $28,000 from their portfolio in the first year. That easily covers the $17,128 gap. On the surface, it seems like they're in the clear, but hold on. At this spending rate, their margin for error is thin. A market downturn early in retirement, what's known as sequence of returns risk, could seriously damage their plan. So for Mark and Susan, the verdict is, it's marginal. It works on paper, but it's a tightrope walk. Section 3. Crunching the numbers. The single retiree. Now let's look at David. He's 62, single, with the same $700,000. You might think his budget is just half of the couple's, but it doesn't quite work that way. A single person loses those economies of scale. Let's assume David has the same housing situation, a paid-off home. His property taxes are the same at $400 a month. Home insurance may be a little less at $120. Utilities are also slightly lower, let's say $300. His grocery bill is about $500 a month. One car costs him around $250 a month for insurance, gas, and maintenance. His healthcare is a huge factor. A single ACA plan might cost him $600 a month until he qualifies for Medicare. At 65, he'll also pay the standard Part B premium of about $203. For discretionary spending, let's give him $600 a month for his hobbies, some travel, and eating out. Adding it all up, David's annual spending is $33,240 or $2,770 per month. Now for his income. David also decides to take Social Security at 62. He gets the same single benefit as Mark or Susan, which is roughly $1,453 a month after the early claiming reduction, for a total of $17,436 per year. His spending is $33,240. His Social Security income is $17,436. This leaves an income gap of $15,804 per year. His $700,000 portfolio can easily cover this. A 4% withdrawal would give him $28,000 a year, leaving him with a pretty big surplus. Even a more conservative 3% withdrawal, which is $21,000, covers his needs with room to spare. So for David, the verdict is, yes, $700,000 is likely enough as long as he maintains this relatively frugal budget. He has more breathing room than the couple, which gives him a much greater margin of safety. Part 4. The levers you can pull. But the story doesn't end with a simple yes or no. This is where so many people get stuck, thinking the number is the end of the story. It's not. The number is just the starting point. Retirement planning isn't a passive activity. It's about the levers you can pull to change your outcome. This is how you turn anxiety into agency. Here are the 3 most powerful levers. Lever number 1, spending flexibility. Your spending is not set in stone. The most successful retirees treat their budget as something dynamic. This is often called the go-go, slow-go, and no-go years. The go-go years, typically in your 60s and early 70s, are when you're active and healthy. This is when you'll spend more on travel and hobbies. Mark and Susan's $52,000 budget might even feel a little tight here, but as you move into the slow-go years, maybe your mid-70s to early 80s, you naturally slow down. You travel less, and your spending on extras tends to fall. Finally, in the no-go years, your spending on activities might drop significantly, but be replaced by rising healthcare costs. Just understanding this natural arc of spending is powerful. It means you don't need to plan for a flat, inflation-adjusted budget for 30 years straight. Research shows that just accounting for this spending smile, higher at the beginning and end, lower in the middle, can dramatically increase your odds of success. For Mark and Susan, it means if they spend $60,000 a year for the first 10 years, but then their spending naturally drops to $45,000 in their slow-go years, their plan becomes much more solid. Flexibility is your greatest asset. Lever number 2, Social Security optimization. This is, without a doubt, the most impactful financial lever most retirees have. We saw that taking benefits at 62 resulted in a 30% permanent pay cut. So what happens if you wait? For every year you delay taking Social Security past your full retirement age, which is 67 for our case studies, your benefit increases by 8% all the way up to age 70. Let's rerun the numbers for Mark and Susan. If they can find a way to bridge the gap and wait until age 70 to claim, their benefits would be 24% higher than their full retirement age benefit. Instead of getting a reduced check for $1,453 each, they would each get a benefit of around $2,573 a month. Suddenly, their joint Social Security income isn't $34,872 a year. It's $61,752 a year. Think about that. Their annual spending was $52,000. By optimizing Social Security, their guaranteed inflation-adjusted income from Social Security alone now covers their entire budget. Their $700,000 portfolio goes from being a lifeline they desperately need to being a safety net and a source for discretionary fun. The pressure is almost entirely gone. For David, the same logic applies. Waiting until 70 would boost his benefit to over $30,000 a year, covering nearly all of his essential spending. Delaying Social Security is the closest thing to a silver bullet in retirement planning. Lever number 3, the withdrawal strategy. For decades, we've been told to follow the 4% rule, but a rule created in the 90s might not be the best fit for today's market. For 2026, research from firms like Morningstar suggests a starting safe withdrawal rate is closer to 3.9%. But clinging to any fixed percentage is risky. What happens if the market drops 20% in your second year of retirement? If you're forced to sell investments to pay your bills, you're selling low and permanently crippling your portfolio's ability to recover. This is that sequence of returns risk I mentioned earlier. The solution is to move from a rigid rule to a dynamic strategy. One of the most effective is the bucket strategy. Imagine 3 buckets for your money. Bucket 1 is cash. It holds 1 to 2 years worth of your living expenses, the amount your portfolio needs to cover. For Mark and Susan, this would be about $35,000. This is your emergency fund. If the market crashes, you don't sell a thing from your investments. You just draw from this cash bucket and give your portfolio time to recover. Bucket 2 is for bonds. This holds another 3 to 5 years of living expenses. It's designed for stability and to generate income. Bucket 3 holds the rest of your money, invested for long-term growth in a diversified mix of stocks. You only refill your cash and bond buckets from this stock bucket during good market years. This strategy prevents you from ever being a forced seller in a down market. It gives you a structure and a plan that lets you sleep at night, knowing you have a buffer to weather any storm. Conclusion, the final verdict. So, is $700,000 enough to retire in your early 60s? As we saw, for a frugal single person, the answer is a qualified yes. For a couple, it's on the edge. But that initial calculation isn't the final answer. It's the beginning of the conversation. The truth is, your success in retirement depends less on hitting some magic number and more on how you manage the variables. A $700,000 portfolio can absolutely be a golden ticket if you pull the right levers. By embracing spending flexibility, you align your budget with the natural flow of your life. By optimizing Social Security, you create a powerful, guaranteed income floor that dramatically reduces the stress on your portfolio. And by adopting a dynamic withdrawal strategy, you protect yourself from the market's inevitable ups and downs. That $700,000 isn't a ticking time bomb unless you just set it, forget it, and hope for the best. But if you see it as a powerful tool and actively manage the levers of spending, income, and strategy, it can be more than enough to build a secure and fulfilling retirement. Building a retirement plan is one of the most personal financial journeys you'll ever take. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to see how we tackle other complex retirement questions, make sure to subscribe. In our next video, we're going to explore one of the most overlooked financial challenges in retirement, the widow's tax penalty, and the steps you can take today to prepare for it. You won't want to miss it.